So come on, be truthful. If I put some chocolate eggs into a piece of hay in a box up this end, do you think anybody will be dumbassed enough
I can't see how there could possibly be. So
to
stupid.
believe it was a real egg in February? Never. We finished the last series of the English nursery garden year in the winter, so I suppose it's only fitting we start the next bugger in the winter. Welcome to Plantsmans Diaries. Might not be to everybody's taste. It certainly won't be PC. The road just gets longer, but I can't imagine 2021 is going to be any more of a shitstorm than the 2020 was, with its viruses and its Brexit problems and oh God. However, life goes on, and if there's one thing that I want to get through to people, or just discuss with people, it's that gardening shouldn't be about hard work. It should be about pottering, the lost art of pottering. Everything today is just such a bloody rush. Even people that want gardens done in the recent years, all they do is come into the garden and say, I want instant impact, I want everything now. Great, if you can either afford it in time or money. There is so much to be said for slowly doing a garden. We can do that with Sunniside. We're also going to tie in some bits from Eggleston. I have 9 months to do there. 2020 was the last full year. But in 2021, I'm going to ease up a bit, take the dogs out more, wander about, visit other gardens. I intend to do that over the coming years. Just visit other people's gardens and see what they've done with their effort and their hard work. But it's all about doing stuff slowly. The thing with gardening is, if it becomes a chore, what's the point? There is no point. Unless it's your job, of course, then I suppose you have to put up with the chore, but it's meant to be a pleasure. It's meant to be a hobby. And the end result is meant to be something you enjoy, not look at and say, oh, I sweat cobs doing that. Don't. Do it slowly. If a project takes 3 weeks to do instead of 1 week, or a month instead of a day, who cares? Does it really matter? If you want everything instantly, then this diary isn't going to be for you. But if you just want to enjoy gardening and enjoy gardens and life in general, country life in particular, then there might be something in this. God, I'm knackered. Talking and working and thinking. Well, I find thinking hard, but all three of them are shagged out.
Right, so what we've got here is something I've been sent by a fellow Conifer enthusiast from over in Cumbria, my friend Matty. And this is what's called a witch's broom, and it's how a majority of dwarf conifer varieties are, well, come about really. Because essentially a witch's broom, there's different types. Essentially, they can sometimes be caused by pests in a tree, when you often see, a lot of people think the crow's nests or different things. They're just a cluster of little branches growing in a tree. It's common round here on some of the birch, the Betula pendulas. Some of them, I know, I have some at the farm that are absolutely covered in them. But occasionally, it's just some of the mutation in the growth. Now this is off a oriental spruce, a Picea orientalis. And you can see how all this growth is just all really, really dwarfed and really condensed and close in together. So, and what happens is when you propagate these, it'll have the sort of hormones and the genetic build-up for this, which is brooms. So whenever you propagate anything from these, it'll have the habit of this little broom. So it stays dwarfing and really compact. So he sent this over to us and I'm going to box it up because, I mean, it's the end of February now. So with the time for us to send down all our spruces, the spruces tend to be more successful when you do them later rather than doing them in January. So we're going to be sending these down to our friends at Bartholomew's and hopefully they'll get a few from these. But then again, then we'll get hopefully some of these back. I'll send Matty a load and hopefully I'll be able to keep a few here to be grown on and just to see what they are, because this, strictly speaking, will be a completely new cultivar of Conifer. I think Matty's named it Another Place after a hotel near Ullswater where he found it. And yeah, so hopefully in maybe 20 years time this will be a cultivar that's maybe a bit sort of well known and well grown in the trade. And it's hopefully going to be a nice little dwarf. It's only putting on, say, an inch or so a year, so it's hopefully going to be a really nice little dwarf form of spruce.
Like that. Then you get into the cambium layer.
Cambium.
Cambium. I never get that right. Into the cambium layer.
God, I never trust an expert.
No, you don't know what they're talking. Then you trim off the end. And then I need the stock, please. Thank you. So you clean the stock up. Do 1 cup there. 1 cup there. See, it's nice and flat. It matches that. And then you slip that in there, like that, and then you get tie, and go round and round and round and round and round and round, and they'll graft together. That goes in the tray then.
Bo, what are you doing?
I'm grafting.
You're grafting.
Okay, so I just would like to point out to people that say acers don't like the cold, do they? Or they don't like the frost. These are little 2 to 3 year old plants in a 4-inch square pot, and it's been really, really freezing, -2, -3 overnight, I believe. These are frozen solid. They're like little blocks of ice. And even with the little 7cm pots, they are also frozen solid. Can't actually move that off. So that's just to show people that in fact they don't mind the hard cold winters. They do have very, very, very little netting. It's not really, you can hardly see it. It's big squares, inch squares, so there's not much protection there really. It's just to stop the leaves falling in here, making a mess of the tunnel really. But yeah, all these ones, they're all been sat here all winter. A few tree peonies there. Again, they're rock solid. And these bigger, Acer palmatum atros, and just the ordinary Acer palmatum ones, also rock solid. So I'll film them again when they've thawed out and when they're starting to shoot away again in the spring, when we filled up in here. It's pretty empty at the moment, but then we've got no customers coming in at the moment, so it's not too bad a problem. There.
Hang on, what's that bird?
I said a nightingale.
Is it a nightingale? I think it's a blackbird because it's night time nearly, isn't it? It's nearly 6 o'clock and we're outside still. Naughty. Can you hear it?
That's a nightingale.
Is that a nightingale?
Yeah.
It's nice to know that we can start here at Sunniside. We've got well, I've got 3 days off a week. I don't work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That might change a little bit in this last summer, but we can start on the garden. There's a lot of slash and burn. Okay, so having done our, it's a bit like playing the guitar and tuning it before you start practicing. Check for turds, really important. Especially this time of the year when there's leaves around, because the little buggers, they hide. You know, the amount of times I've thought it was a leaf and it's actually a little thingy. Not the most exciting job, but anyway, we've got that done. I've made some decisions. These apple trees down here, these are coming out. I really don't want them in. We need to get as much free space up as possible. So we'll chainsaw off or cut off the smaller branches. By that I mean we'll cut them here. I don't mean these little bits, and then we'll put them to one side. I might keep some of the wood, the thicker wood, for I have a lathe, and in a few years it might make some nice apple wood pens or something. So we'll keep the thicker wood for turning. The rest will probably be burnt or shredded. The pond, I haven't decided what to do with that yet. I don't like water gardening, but I'm thinking on that. The first job though, and I think it's an important job, is to make it safer. You can't walk down here without this bloody great rose snagging you. Now this rose is as thorny as they come. As I've explained before, it's a Kiftgate seedling, and it's an old apple tree stump that's leaning across, and it used to be a support. It was grown up to an old apple tree. You can see the base of the apple tree there. We're going to get that off altogether. There's another little apple there that's blown over in the wind, and it's just blocking the pathway. You can see some of the old pathway there with the moss on the stones. There's some old carpeting under there, and it was done 25, nearly 30 years ago. So what we do there is just put the shreddings on that path when we shred up some of this material. But looking at this rose, it's a great big, it's up there, oh, it would be 20 foot. Now, I could keep some of this growth and you know, and mess about and try and train it in, or I could reduce it right back down and hope that it breaks away from the base, which is what I'm going to do. You can see how spiky it is. It's a nasty bastard. As I've said, it's a seedling of Kiftgate. So I think what we're going to do is cut this off at about 18 inches, 2 feet. And that'll leave room for through this summer, some new growth, which we will then, once I've made a new structure, it'll just be some of those meta posts with some wooden posts in, not pushed into the ground, meta posts, so that the spike is in the ground and then the wood is put into the post holder. I'll show you those later. They're quite effective. They don't look very rural, but this soon grows in. Things cover them. And that's it really. So we're going to chop this off and then get in there. It's going to take a long time to get in there because it's thick and it's very, very thorny, and it's going to cut to pieces. So we're going through, we've been at this a couple of hours now. This may be a bit windy sounding. Now, what we've done is cut through the base of the roads down here, and then going to clear out. What I'm doing is cutting it off a bit by bit, piece by piece. Little 1 foot nibbles. I'm nibbling away at it and just putting it in the incinerator. Just a little thing. Unfortunately, the wind was supposed to be coming from the south, but it's a bit swirly. They say you should never trust a fart. Well, I wouldn't trust the weather forecast when they predict wind, because it's blowing it back onto my neighbour's house. So, I shan't be very popular, I suppose. It's only the roads that I actually want to burn. I want to use the rest of everything else. Well, we'll just keep nibbling away at this. Ladybirds are very attractive, except when they're young. Before they've hatched into their final stage, they really are one of the ugliest things you could see. But they are the thing of children's books these days. I was enjoying this. I'm going to have to go and get that bell now. Bugger. Right, I reckon that whatever it is getting in there.
Yeah.
That's the only way in, because we're locking up at night.
It's quite a big hole, isn't it?
Yeah. But we haven't seen anything going in there.
I mean, when we were up last couple of weeks ago,
Still, yeah. There's nothing about.
Thomas and Clara were planting trees up, and you were probably suffering just as much.
It's white with them. Don't watch my back. Are they cold?
I don't know.
How's your boy doing? Is he all right?
Yeah.
Don't disturb them too much, will you?
No.
Because he's so behind anyway.
Just say,
That's where the robin was, because robin eggs are blue.
they're beautiful.
I know, but that's where it was last year.
It was.
But I don't know what has gone in there.
Some work, and then before me, the teacher phoned up so that he's not doing tonight.
Beautiful. So nice, isn't it? That'd be nice.
No, it's all right. I didn't get that
You
bit.
didn't get that bit, did you?
I didn't get the bit you being nasty about Amanda.
Was it?
Right, what is this, Elizabeth?
This is Assurum. That's how you say it.
Sarum.
Asarum. Canna.
Cordate, we've been given this a sniff. It apparently it smells of ginger. Helen says it's an earthy ginger.
It smells less ginger than when I first picked it up. It smells just a bit stinky now.
We are just
It is the kind of plant that you have to be laid on the floor to see the flower,
yeah.
which is all well and good.
Plant it next to some hurricane, you'll be alright.
Some fancy snowdrops.
Or maybe it's just a romantic plant. Now look at these. We're just dividing these up now. They do divide quite well, don't they?
Oh, easy. Yeah.
There you are. Sarum cordatum. So in the cold light of day, we have to try and get a little apple tree out. I haven't done much today because it's been piddling down. We've got a lot of rubbish to chop up, shred up. Yesterday was quite a heavy day with the old slash and a bit of the burn. Some of these, as I said, have been able to wiggle out, but the rest I'm going to have to get a mattock and an axe and just like slice out the roots. I'm getting a bit old for that. But there's a whole load of stuff here that's to come out. There's a Stephanandra over there that's just not doing anything. There's some conifers to cut back. Of course, I'm back at Eggleston tomorrow for 4 days, so I won't get any time on it until next week. Over here, there's a big old ash tree. And I pull out it about 12 foot. Oh, it must be 2.5 foot, 3 foot across. Anyway, I need to do something with that. Well, it's got to go. I haven't got a chainsaw that's big enough to do the bottom. However, I might be able to do something with it. Get this bloody ivy off of it and have a look and see what we got. You can see there's blooming holes underneath it. I'm hoping that the bugger's hollow in the middle to some extent. But we can't see until the dog can see the rabbit. So it's like, there's a pyracantha over there and a formium. Yeah, about 6-7 foot tall, that formium. He's going. That pyracantha's going. This is a sorbus. I think that's going to go as well. The hazel, I want to keep. These hazel are, I cut them down a year or two back. There's a purple hazel, a golden hazel, and they form a barrier to a field at the back. But I'll take alternate ones down. We can use the wood. It's good for bean poles and things. It's excellent, so we can use that. If we take 1 or 2 down every year, we can get a supply of bean poles if I want to go stick peas or a run of beans or something like that. And pea sticks. Plenty of pea sticks, aren't there? But this year, as I've said, it is going to be a mess. That thing there, that pond, it haunts me. I really don't like. Next to roses, water gardening ain't for me. I'm tempted just to get loads and loads of old soil and rubbish and just top it up and make a bog garden out of it. However, it could also be relined and have a pond. It's hard work, water gardening. It's a bit like lawns. People think, I could have a nice lawn and I won't have to do much. To keep a nice lawn, it's extremely difficult. Keeping one like mine, use the grass up there, it's coming easy. Because it's horrible. But then it's a functional thing. What do we do with it? Reduce it? More garden? Who knows? Some inspiration will strike at some stage. It's very, very pretty through here. We're in our usual walk of the Stang Forest. Lots of people lose their dogs in here. So I'm always very nervous about where they go. But generally they don't wander too far. Years ago I had a spaniel, Willow, beautiful Springer Spaniel, and where I was living we had a lot of these muntjac deers, and if he caught whiff of a deer, it just was like a red mist. Lots of dogs are like that. It's like a red mist and you could do nothing with him, and you'd hear him in the distance going, just going through the woods or around the outside of a field following the deer scent. There's something about deer scent that really a lot of dogs really like. I think humans do as well. Some of the musk perfumes are based on deer musk, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on that. I just remember reading it somewhere a long, long time ago. When I was a kid, there was a teenager, there was a perfume called Just Musk. It was like a cheap perfume. And lots of the girls used to wear it. And as a young man, well, it was the one perfume that had like an effect. How can I put it? Yeah, it had an effect, a physical effect. Tucker, come out with there. Oh God, he'll get cut with rat bites. Here. Yeah, it had a physical effect. Nowadays I'd need a splint. Yeah, perfumes are funny. I remember there was another one that used to do something similar. It was called a nay, I think. Yeah, I don't think you see it anymore. The difference between that and Just Musk was, I think a nay was about 30 quid in them days, and Just Musk was about £2. I think the cheap one was actually more effective. I had a mate, and I promised it, I did have a mate who had the same effect with, and he used to pinch his sisters and spray it on his pillow. I promise you, it was a friend. It was. Wow. This is a bit of a devil getting through here. Very, very pretty, but very slippery underfoot because it's sitting over mud and water, which seems to have thawed. The dogs have got the right idea. Get under the trees. Well, they're considerably shorter than me, so I'm not doing that. I don't know why I've chosen to come out on a day like this. It's horrible. Well, pretty, but very hard walking. You guys. Come on, boys. These racks here, they are very, very expensive. I've got 3 or 4 more piles like this, but they save us so much time in standing plants up when they would normally be blowing over. Fantastic things. Anybody starting a nursery, you need to invest in something that keeps your plants upright in windy weather. For somewhere like Eggleston here, where it's just so windy, they're just invaluable. Now, I have never much liked begonias, and this is a variety called Eden's Magic Giant, but when the sun shines on them and they're coloured up like this, they can be very, very attractive. And I know flower arrangers go bananas over them. They really like the colour of the leaves. This is a variegated form called Tubby Andrews. At the moment, they haven't got a lot of variegation or colour because of the time of the year. But again, they are very, very popular. The flowers are not to be sniffed at. They're like a thick, flat stalk with a clump of florets on the end. I don't really know how to describe them. The name escapes me at the moment. But anyway, they're usually pink or white. We're putting top dress fertiliser on some of the Primulas and just cleaning them up because they were repotted late last year. So this top dress fertiliser is ideal. You can just sprinkle it on the top, and the good thing is if you turn it upside down like this, it don't come off. So if you have pots that are blowing over and they haven't got racks on, if you put normal fertiliser on the top, unless you bury it in there, which is another hassle, it just rolls off. Or if you top dress and you put fertiliser under the top dress, it all comes out if the plant falls over. This way it doesn't. You can top dress straight on root bound soil. Or it's really very effective stuff. I don't think it's available on the ordinary market, but it is very available to professional gardeners and nurserymen and people like that. But I suspect you would be able to buy it from somewhere like LBS Horticulture. LBS are our main supplier of garden sundries, and I know they have a very, very good website, and I think it's made by Osmocote, and there's another form of it by Vitax or something, I think. Anyway, it's Osmocott top dress. It used to be called Fusion. There are lots of fertilisers that, and some of them release it, slow release fertilisers, and they release it over a period of time. Some are like 3 to 4 months, some are like 6 to 8 months, 12 to 14 months. They're okay. They're good. It's changed since I was young. So we've still got this to finish off in here. Once this is finished off, we can start. Well, I suppose we could start putting plants in now if need be. It's only this top third that's got to be done, so we could put plants in further down there. I think it'll make a lot of difference. You can see the old trilliums are starting to really poke through now. I'm really pleased about that. They just get better every year. I'm intending to plant lots and lots of them at Sunniside. When I've built a potting shed, I want to be able to put loads and loads of them into the surrounding area of the potting shed. I have this little vision of it being thick in trilliums. And then I'll be able to sell them privately. Like, one of the things I intend to do when I've got some plants bulked up at home, I will advertise them on this website. Well, this isn't a website, is it? It's a channel. All right, Thomas, thank you. So, and they'll be available, but just very special things, and they'll be available to people that are on this channel. At least you'll know what you're getting. But that won't be for 2 or 3 years yet. The thing about trilliums is that I don't want to do them as young plants from seed or anything like that. We want nice big pieces of them, nice big bits of root. And if you've got them growing yourself, you can do that. It's just going to be little bits here and there when I've got something special. It'll be a bit first come, first serve, but we'll just do it privately. The problem is, of course, that with all these sort of things, you have to go to specialist places. And while I'm going to be out of the business, there's so few now, and garden centres don't carry these. And online, you don't always know what you're going to get. I could actually film myself, I suppose, digging your piece of trillium up. Or it could be something else, it could be leucojum or whatever. It's just a little thing in the future. Beer money, they call it. That's what it will be. Thank God for that. I wouldn't want to be carrying on commercially now. It's too hard to work. I'm really quite looking forward to this retirement business. There's a lot of gardens I want to visit. Some down in Devon, there's a lot in the north of England. And there's a yellow book scheme we have in England, or the UK. And you have all these gardens open for a charity cause. I thought it would be nice to go and visit some of them and really, and be honest about them. I'm not sure they would like that particularly, but I would never criticise somebody's garden, but I just have a look what's in them, and just do it in our own style. Which is encouraged by the viewers of this channel, Really, you're really to blame for what you get. If you didn't watch it, I wouldn't carry on doing it. That's what I tell the complainants anyway. Oh, look at that, look. Oh, Lisa's got her work cut out there. But she did finish the shrub beds and they're looking immaculate. All nice, and it's nice when the paths are done and clean, and Thomas is now starting to fill them up. You can see. I think he's doing it in alphabetical order. It's always been a thing of mine when people say, where are your buddleias? I said, they're up in the shrub area. Oh, are they? Yeah. I say, well, it's alphabetical, it's just not always in order. That really flummoxes people. Yeah, so all this is done, nice and clean. I'm always very proud of it when it looks like this. You want to be, when you're bringing out your plants and you're repotting them and you're cleaning them up and doing a little bit of pruning, you want to put them into nice beds. Look at it, nice clean beds. You don't want them, you don't want to be just covering up shitty old Mypex or shitty old sales beds, just thinking to yourself, they'll be covered in plants anyway. Nobody's going to see all the algae and the liverwort and the crap underneath there. It's not the way to do it. And on a sunny day like today, it really brings it out. I've got no fucking customers, of course, but it's not the point, is it? It's the respect you have for your own place of work and your own business. You want it to look good. Even if there's nobody coming in because of lockdown at the moment. Look at those, there's a little muscari. They're going to be little crackers this year. The old Irish reticulators. That's it, I've waffled enough. Right, so we are filming. See, now when people come here, they get all sorts of jobs. Richard has visited us today and he's picked up the camera and started filming. It's a new career path. Now, what we're doing here is we're taking these cowslips. We've done it with all the double primulas. You can see there's a load of skanky old leaves and dead foliage, and just like fly-blown foliage. We just don't want that. So what we're going to do, there's a few flowers and we don't really need them because we're just going to trim the whole lot off. We're going through a few flower stems as well. Gets rid of all of these old leaves, and what happens is the new flowers, when they come through from the base, will just come flying up, and they'll be thick with flower, and they won't get hidden by the leaves.
And how long will that take for them to come through?
About 4 weeks. In another 4 weeks, when we're out of when we've got more visitors, these will be looking lovely. And they'll be saying, oh, what wonderful flowers you grow. And it's all because of this. Oh, also, we just put a little bit of top dress fertilizer on them. That will stick to the soil and give it a bit of a boost. There you go, Richard. There is another reason that we cut these leaves back on a lot of these primulas. As you can see, they look well trimmed, but particularly with the oxlip, the cowslip, and the primula, the what do you call it? Primrose. Sorry, I'm getting forgetful. They are plants that generally grow in grassland or impoverished soil or on little banks or things where they flower profusely and they look lovely, but as I've said, they are in impoverished soil. When we're potting them up here, the soil is richer, it's high in nitrogen, or higher in nitrogen, it's a potting soil, so the leaves tend to get a little bit excessive. Once they're planted out, they're fine, But in our composts, you can get a bit too much leaf growth, and you don't see the flowers as well. That would go with a lot of meadow plants that grow in meadows and things. If you take the seed and you sow it, the plant will, in ordinary compost, will have no resemblance to what it was like in the meadow. They have to complete their life cycle quickly there, so they flower very, very quickly without too much leaf and bloom, because if they didn't, when the meadows are cut for hay or grazed, they would be buggered really.
Every once in a while, and I don't know why, but every once in a while I give Malcolm the benefit of the doubt. This morning was one of those moments. He'd told me that a bird had nested and laid eggs in the potting shed quite near where a robin nested last year, and he asked if I wanted to come and have a look, maybe take some photos. Couldn't identify the eggs, he said, but could I Google them and maybe find out what they were? So I got my camera ready and along I went. I was really excited. I do love a bird's nest. He told me to be cautious, so I approached it very, very cautiously, peered in, couldn't get a good angle, didn't want to touch it, so I climbed up a ladder, which was quite uncomfortable. Couldn't get a good angle from there either, but he then called my husband in. Would he like to have a look at the eggs? So we leant over it and had a look, and I was scared to go too close because, you know, birds might be put off and so on. This went on for some time. Then me quite tickled pink at the joy of seeing eggs so early. Then Malcolm said, as a boy, before we knew any different, boys used to blow the eggs, like blow the insides out and everything, and he suddenly clutched one of the eggs out of the nest and popped it in his mouth and crunched. It was chocolate. I'd been there for some time photographing chocolate eggs. I mean, the tragic thing here is that he found it so funny. Really. I mean, he needs to grow up, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, as I say, should have known, because this has happened to me before, things like this. When I'd only been here a couple of months, Malcolm came bounding into my room and said, would I like to see a goldcrest's nest? Well, of course I would. I mean, goldcrest, they're our smallest bird. They're gorgeous. And I'd never seen one, so off I went to look for this. And he did indeed show me a goldcrest nest, because we have a pair that live in the garden, so we rarely see them. It was a gorgeous little nest, and I went back to my room, tickled pink, to find what appeared to be a large poo on the cushion of my chair. It took a while, maybe 10 minutes of me wandering around, sniffing the air, poking at it with a stick, to realise that it had been manufactured by Thomas from the inside of a toilet roll. It was really authentic, to be fair. I mean, he could take it up professionally, but what's that all about? What is that all about? I should have known what I was up against then. It's one of their areas of expertise, I think, practical jokes. Also, anything to do with poo is something that Malcolm seems to be quite the expert on. This morning he was describing to me the difference between rabbit droppings and deer droppings, and went into quite some detail about tapered ends and things. Yep, he certainly knows his shit. Well, I am going to read a poem today, despite my morning, and it is about birds' nests, and it's written by Edward Thomas, who is a 19th, well, and 20th century British poet and essayist, and loved nature and all things. So this one is called Birds' Nests. The summer nests uncovered by autumn wind, some torn, others dislodged, all dark. Everyone sees them, low or high in tree, or hedge, or single bush. They hang like a mark. Since there's no need of eyes to see them with, I cannot help a little shame that I missed most, even at eyes level, till the leaves blew off and made the seeing no game. It's a light pang. I like to see the nests still in their places, now first known, at home and by far roads. Boys knew them not, whatever jays and squirrels may have done. And most I like the winter nests, deep hid, that leaves and berries fell into. Once a dormouse dined there on hazelnuts, and grass and goosegrass seeds found soil and grew.
Can you hear that bird? Tweet, 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 tweet. It's been doing that all afternoon. I don't know what it is, and it's getting right on my tits.